Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are tackling a subject that I think, if we're being really honest with ourselves, haunts every single one of us.
Oh, definitely.
It's that nagging, heavy feeling in the pit of your stomach on a Sunday night when you realize you haven't done the laundry, or that sheer physical resistance you feel at 6 a.m. when the alarm goes off to the gym and the bed is just so warm.
It is the universal human experience. It's the friction of existence.
Exactly. And the narrative we've been fed by society, by self-help gurus, by our parents, by our bosses, is that this feeling is the enemy. We are told that the key to success is grit.
Right? Hustle.
It's willpower. It's the endless grinding effort to push through that resistance. If you're struggling, you just aren't wanting it bad enough. But looking at the research we have today, what if that's wrong?
Or at least what if it's biologically inefficient? What if relying on grit is actually a flawed strategy from the get-go?
Right. What if the secret to high performance isn't fighting your nature, but actually being, well, lazy?
I knew you were going to go there. And we have to be very careful with that word, lazy. It carries so much moral baggage. But in a sense, yes, we are going to explore what the source material calls the law of least effort.
I love that title. It sounds so official, like
Yeah.
a law of physics or something.
Because it essentially is a fundamental principle of nature. The mission for this deep dive is to explore how human behavior is physically, biologically, and even historically wired to avoid work,
Okay.
and why fighting that biology is, more often than not, a losing battle.
I have to push back on this a little bit right out of the gate,
Go for it.
because it sounds like we're just building a really elaborate scientific excuse for me to be a slob. Like, oh, sorry I didn't write that report, boss. I was just following the law of least effort.
It sounds that way, doesn't it? But here is the critical distinction. We aren't looking for excuses to do nothing. We are trying to understand the operating system.
The OS of the human brain.
Exactly. The brain is an energy-conserving machine. That is its primary directive above almost everything else. So if we can learn to work with that instinct rather than constantly swimming upstream against it, we can actually achieve significantly more.
So it's about being productive but without the burnout.
We're trying to align with the system, not hack it.
Okay, I'm listening. And I have to say, we have a really fascinating stack of sources for this one. We aren't just looking at, productivity hacks or the latest 5 morning habits of CEOs.
No, this is much deeper. We're looking at global history, the spread of agriculture, Japanese manufacturing techniques from the 1970s, and of course, modern neuroscience.
It's a broad scope, but it all seems to point to the same conclusion.
It does. Friction matters. A lot.
Okay, let's unpack this. And to do that, we have to zoom way out. I mean, way out. I want everyone listening to close your eyes for a second. Unless you're driving, please do not close your eyes.
Yes, please don't.
And I want you to just visualize a map of the world.
Specifically, look at the continents. Look at the shapes of the land masses themselves.
If you look at Eurasia, that massive combination of Europe and Asia, what do you see? It's this huge, long landmass. It's basically a giant rectangle that lays on its side. It runs east to west.
Correct. It stretches from the Atlantic coast of France and Portugal all the way across the steppes of Russia to the Pacific coast of China. It is a horizontal orientation. It spans thousands of miles, but it stays relatively within the same band of latitude.
Right. Now compare that to the Americas, North and South America,
Right.
or even Africa.
Those land masses are vertical. They are oriented north-south. They are tall and narrow compared to Eurasia.
Okay, so we have a wide rectangle and some tall rectangles. Why on earth does this matter? Is this just trivia night fodder?
It matters because of agriculture. And this comes largely from the work of Jared Diamond and his analysis of how civilizations spread. It turns out agriculture spread 2 to 3 times faster across that east-west axis of Europe and Asia than it did up and down the Americas.
2 to 3 times faster. That is a massive difference in efficiency. I mean, that's not a small margin of error.
No, it's enormous. That's the difference between a civilization booming and a civilization stagnating. And the key is, it wasn't because the people in Eurasia were smarter. It wasn't because they worked harder.
It was geography.
It was climate logic and biology. It comes down to something called photoperiodism.
Photoperiodism. Okay, break that down for us. That sounds technical.
It's actually pretty simple. Plants are genetically coded to respond to the length of the day. A stalk of wheat has a mechanism inside it, a biological clock, effectively, that counts the hours of sunlight.
So it knows when to grow.
It knows when to germinate, when to flower, when to drop seeds. It's all timed to the sun.
Okay, so the plant has an internal schedule based on sunlight.
Exactly. Now, because the Earth spins on a tilted axis, Every location on the same latitude gets the exact same length of day all year round. The summer days are the same length in France as they are in northern China.
Ah, I see where this is going.
So if I am an ancient farmer in, say, the Fertile Crescent, and I domesticate a crop like wheat, that wheat has a genetic profile adapted to that specific amount of sun and that temperature range.
Right.
If I take those wheat seeds in a pouch and I walk 1,000 miles east and I plant it in the soil of what is now modern-day Turkey or even further into Asia.
The environment matches the code. The plant's internal clock still works.
Precisely. The genetic coding matches the environment. There is very low environmental friction. The plant looks around metaphorically and says, okay, I know this place. I can grow here.
The environment isn't fighting you.
Exactly. The path of least resistance for that seed and for the farmer is to move east or west.
Now contrast that with the north-south barrier in the Americas.
Yeah.
Because this is where the tall rectangle shape becomes a huge problem.
It's a completely different story. If you are a farmer in the Mississippi Valley in the United States and you try to travel south into Central America or north into Canada, what happens?
You're crossing climates.
You are crossing massive climate variations. You're crossing latitude lines. The days get shorter or longer. The seasons flip. The whole system changes.
The source material uses a great example here. It says, you cannot grow Florida oranges in a Canadian winter.
It's a simple truth, but the implications are profound. Snow is a poor substitute for soil.
Right.
But it's deeper than just snow. If you take that wheat from the Mississippi Valley and move it south to Mexico, the photoperiod is wrong. The plant malfunctions. It might germinate in the middle of the hottest season. It might flower when there are no pollinators. It dies.
That is what you mean by biological friction.
Exactly. The plant's code no longer works. So if I'm a farmer in the Americas trying to spread my agriculture north or south, I can't just walk and plant.
No, you have to stop. You have to re-domesticate the plant all over again for this new environment.
You have to wait for a mutation. You have to wait for evolution to catch up. Or you have to selectively breed a hardier version of the crop to survive the frost or the heat or the humidity changes. You have to fight the biology of the plant itself.
That sounds like an immense amount of work.
Yeah.
It sounds like starting from scratch every few hundred miles.
It is an immense amount of work. It is high friction. This acts as a massive brake on human progress. It slowed the spread of ideas, technologies, and most importantly, calories in those regions.
And this is what we mean by the butterfly effect of friction, right? Because we aren't just talking about whether or not people had a specific type of corn.
No, not at all. We are talking about the foundation of civilization. We are talking about population density. Faster agriculture means you have a food surplus sooner.
And a food surplus changes everything.
It does. If everyone has to farm just to survive, you have a village of farmers. But if one farmer can feed 10 people because the crop yields are high and the agriculture spread easily,
Now you have 9 people who don't have to farm.
and those 9 people can become soldiers, blacksmiths, inventors, priests, bureaucrats. You suddenly have the bandwidth to develop steel, to develop writing, to build stronger armies, to create complex societies.
So because the continent was shaped east-west, the friction was lower, the food grew faster, and that civilization it compounded its advantage.
Precisely. A small geographical advantage. Literally, just the orientation of the land compounded over centuries into massive global differences. The behavior of those ancient farmers was constrained by the friction in their environment.
They didn't move east because they were smarter or harder working.
They moved east because it was easier.
They followed the path of least resistance.
And that simple fact shaped the modern world. Nature hates wasting energy. A river doesn't flow uphill. A current doesn't fight the resistance if it can go around it. And we, as a species, are no different.
It's wild to think that the shape of a continent creates this invisible resistance that dictates human progress.
Well, it's not fate, it's physics. And this is where the story gets a little uncomfortable, because if you look at a map, you see the path of least resistance. But if you look at an MRI of a human brain,
You see the exact same thing.
you see an organ that is obsessively, ruthlessly devoted to not doing work. We can transition from maps to synapses here. The core law remains the same. Human nature follows the law of least effort.
Which states, simply, that given 2 similar options, people will naturally gravitate toward the one requiring the least work.
Every single time.
This is where I feel a little called out, because we live in a culture that worships the hustle. We are told that if we want something, we should want to suffer for it. No pain, no gain. If it's not hard, is it even worth it?
That is a nice romantic idea, but biologically, it's nonsense. You have to remember where we came from. For 99.9% of human history, we weren't living in cities with
Right,
supermarkets.
we were on the savannah, calories were scarce.
Calories were incredibly scarce, energy was precious. You didn't know when your next meal was coming. It might be 3 hours from now or it might be 3 days from now.
So if you burned unnecessary calories running around for no reason or, doing push-ups just for the sake of gains,
You died. Evolution would select against you. The brain is wired to conserve energy at all costs. It is a survival mechanism. So laziness, as we call it today, is actually a highly evolved, brilliant survival strategy for a biological organism.
so when I sit on the couch instead of going for a run, I'm basically just being a survivalist expert.
In a way, yes, your ancient brain, specifically the basal ganglia, is high-fiving you for saving calories. It thinks you're winning at the game of survival. It's saying, great job, we aren't burning fuel. We might need this fuel to fight a tiger later.
But there are no tigers in my living room.
And that is the mismatch. That's the conflict. Your ancient brain thinks you're winning, but your modern brain, the prefrontal cortex, knows there are no tigers. It knows you want to be fit or write that book or learn that language. It knows you're wasting your potential.
So we're living in a biological civil war.
We are living in a biological mismatch, and that's what we need to solve. The source material puts it perfectly. Despite what the latest productivity bestseller will tell you, our real motivation is to do what is convenient.
That's a relief, honestly. But it also explains why good habits are so hard to start. The source gives this example of push-ups, which I think everyone can relate to.
Oh, it's a classic example of energy expenditure mathematics. Let's say your goal is 100 push-ups a day.
Which sounds great on January 1st. It sounds like the new you.
It sounds heroic, but think about the energy required. It is high energy. It requires massive activation energy just to start. The thought alone is tiring.
And motivation is a fluctuating resource. It's not a constant.
It's a very fickle resource. You might have that high energy on Monday, but by Wednesday, when you're tired, stressed from work, and the baby is crying, that high energy cost is too much. Your brain looks at the cost of the activity and says, too expensive, pass.
Okay, now compare that to a goal of 1 push-up a day.
It's almost zero energy. It's so easy that your brain doesn't even register it as a threat to your energy reserves. The activation energy is negligible. You can't really make an excuse not to do 1 push-up.
And this brings us to the habit trap. Because while we struggle to do hard things, we have absolutely no problem spending 4 hours scrolling on our phones.
Right. Why is that? It's not because scrolling is fulfilling. It's not because you sit there thinking, my life is so enriched by this infinite feed.
No, usually I feel worse afterwards. A little empty.
Exactly. But you do it because it is frictionless. It is the path of least resistance. Habits like checking email, scrolling social media, watching TV, they steal our time specifically because they require almost zero effort. They are, as the text says, remarkably convenient.
I think there is a really profound mindset shift in the notes here regarding obstacles. Can you walk us through that? Because usually we think of the habit as the thing we want.
This is one of my favorite insights from this entire deep dive.
Yep.
We often confuse the habit with the goal. We say, I want to be a person who diets, or I want to be a person who meditates.
But we don't, really. That's not the end goal.
No. You don't want to starve yourself. You don't want to eat kale if you hate kale. You want to be fit. You want to be healthy. You don't want to sit in silence for 20 minutes struggling to focus. You want to feel calm.
The habit is just the vehicle to get there.
Even more than that, the habit is the obstacle. It is the friction between you and the outcome you desire.
That completely flips the script. So the diet is the obstacle standing between me and fitness.
Exactly. And the bigger the obstacle, the less likely you are to overcome it. If the obstacle is run 10 miles, you probably won't do it. If the obstacle is put on running shoes, you might.
So the key is to make the obstacle as small as humanly possible.
Crucially small. So easy, so low friction, that you do it even when you don't feel like it. You have to lower the barrier to entry so much, it's almost silly.
I love that. It stops us from romanticizing the struggle and starts making us look at the mechanics of the struggle. It's an engineering problem.
Precisely. It's an engineering problem, not a moral one. And that leads perfectly to the garden hose analogy.
Okay, yes. This analogy in the source material really clicked for me because it visualizes exactly what we do wrong every single day.
It's a great visualization. So imagine you are holding a garden hose and you're trying to water your flowers, but the water is barely trickling out, just a few drops.
Right. Super frustrating.
So you look down and you see the hose is bent in the middle. There's a sharp kink in the line. Now, if you want more water to come out at the end, you have two options. Option one, you walk back to the spigot and you crank the valve open as hard as you can. You increase the pressure,
Try to force it through the kink.
you force it. And sure, a bit more water might spray out, but you are putting massive tension on the system. The hose might burst. It requires a lot of effort from you. It's a struggle.
And in this metaphor, cranking the valve is motivation.
Correct. Trying to pump yourself up, watching motivational YouTube videos at 2 a.m., gritting your teeth and just pushing through, that is trying to force water through a bent hose. We treat every failure as a failure of pressure.
We think, I just didn't push hard enough, or I didn't have enough willpower.
Exactly. But what's option two?
You just walk over and unbend the hose.
You remove the friction, and the water flows naturally, effortlessly. You don't need more pressure, you need less resistance. This represents environment design.
And I feel like most people spend their entire lives just cranking that valve harder and harder.
We are addicted to cranking the valve. Our culture celebrates it. We think if we aren't straining, we aren't trying. But the most effective people, the most sustainable systems, they all focus on unbending the hose.
Let's apply this to real life. The gym is the classic example.
It is. Think about the friction of going to the gym. The source material makes a specific point about location. You are significantly more likely to go to a gym if it is on your direct commute home from work.
Like you literally have to drive past its front door to get home.
Yes. If the gym requires you to go even a few blocks out of your way, that is a bend in the hose.
Just a few blocks. That seems so minor, so trivial.
To the logical brain, it's minor. To the primitive, energy-conserving brain, it is a huge reason to say, not today. Going out of your way is the enemy of habit.
It's the friction.
It's the fiction. If you have to turn left when you usually turn right, you have introduced a decision point. You have introduced effort. And eventually, on a tired Tuesday, that friction will win.
We see this with domestic friction, too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about trying to diet while you were at a dinner party. The entire environment is filled with friction for your diet.
Impossible. The environment is designed to make you eat. The social pressure, the smells, the availability.
Or trying to write a book in a chaotic house with kids screaming and the TV on.
Also impossible. You're trying to force creativity through a kinked hose.
We often try to build habits in these high-friction environments. We are trying to meditate in a construction zone, and then we blame ourselves for lacking willpower when we fail.
When really, we just haven't unbent the hose.
Yeah.
We haven't designed the environment to support the behavior we want. This concept of removing friction isn't just for personal habits, though. It's actually massive business strategy. The source material takes us back to the 1970s and Japanese manufacturing.
This is a pivotal moment in industrial history. We are talking about lean production and the Toyota production system.
So, what was the context here? In the post-war era,
American manufacturing was the giant, the undisputed king. But in the 70s, Japanese electronics manufacturers and car makers like Toyota started eating their lunch. And they did it by obsessively, almost pathologically, redesigning the workspace to remove waste.
when you say waste, you don't just mean scrap metal on the floor.
No, I mean muda. That's the Japanese term. It means futility, uselessness, wastefulness. They looked at the workers on the assembly line. If a worker had to twist their torso 90 degrees to grab a screwdriver, that was waste.
That seems extreme, a 90-degree twist.
It seems tiny, but if they had to walk 3 steps to get a part, that was friction. If they had to bend down to pick something up, that was waste.
3 steps is nothing.
But multiply 3 steps by 1,000 times a day. And then multiply that by every worker in the factory. It adds up to miles of wasted walking and hours of wasted time.
But it's not just the physical time, is it?
No, that's the key insight. It's the cognitive load. If I have to walk 3 steps to find a wrench, I have to make a micro decision. Where is it? Is it the right one? Did someone move it?
It breaks the flow. It interrupts your focus.
It spikes the cognitive load. It causes decision fatigue. By putting the tool in the exact same spot within arm's reach every single time, the Japanese managers didn't just save seconds, they saved the workers' precious brain power.
They lowered the activation energy for the task to near zero.
Precisely. The philosophy was, workers shouldn't have to twist and turn. It sounds trivial. But let's look at the data. In 1974, service calls for American-made color TVs were 5 times as common as for Japanese TVs.
5 times. So American TVs were breaking down 5 times more often.
And by 1979, it took American workers 3 times as long to assemble a set.
That is a staggering difference in efficiency and quality.
And it wasn't because the Japanese workers were working harder, they weren't sweating more, they were actually working easier. It was because the friction had been engineered out of their process.
The source calls this addition by subtraction.
A beautiful phrase. By subtracting the wasted effort, they added efficiency and reliability. When you aren't fighting your environment, you make fewer mistakes. You move faster, your work is better.
We see this in all modern tech, too. I mean, the reason ride-sharing apps took off wasn't just because they were cheaper.
Not at all. It was friction reduction. Think about the friction of hailing a cab in, say, 2005.
Oh, it was a nightmare. You have to go stand on a specific corner, in the rain, probably. You have to wave your arm like a maniac.
Yeah.
You have to hope one sees you. Then you have to have cash. You have to worry if their credit card machine is broken.
The whole process is filled with uncertainty and friction versus opening an app and pressing one button.
It solved all of those friction points instantly. The friction is almost zero.
Same with meal delivery. The friction of going grocery shopping, driving, parking, walking the aisles, choosing, waiting in line, paying, driving home, unpacking, cooking is massive.
Compared to 3 taps on a phone.
Exactly. The product that removes the most friction usually wins.
The text mentions voice activation specifically, like a smart speaker.
This is a great example of how sensitive we are to even the tiniest bits of friction. The author asks a friend why he likes his smart speaker, and the friend says, it's just easier to say play country music than to pull out my phone, unlock it, open the app, and select a playlist.
Now, pulling out a phone takes, what, 4, maybe 5 seconds?
Maybe. But that 5 seconds involves multiple steps. Locate phone, authenticate with your face or thumb, navigate the UI, find the app, open it, scroll, click. Saying play music is one step. That tiny reduction in friction changes behavior. It changes how much music you listen to.
It's wild that we are that, well,
Lazy.
efficient. We are that efficient. Our brains are constantly doing this cost-benefit analysis in the background. There's a really compelling example from the government in here, too. The UK tax study. This proves it's not just about consumer products.
This is a classic case of what's called nudge theory. The British government wanted to increase tax collection rates. Originally, they sent people a letter that said, go to this web page to download the tax form.
Okay, so that's a multi-step process. Step 1, get letter. Step 2, go to computer. Step 3, manually type in a long, complicated URL. Step 4, find the link. Step 5, download.
Precisely. And typing a URL correctly is surprisingly high friction, especially a government one.
Right, it's always something like gov.u revenue forms download 7B alpha.
Exactly. So they made one simple change. In their digital communication, they started linking directly to the form. They removed one step, the navigation step, one click.
And what happened?
The response rate jumped from 19.2% to 23.4%.
That doesn't sound like a huge jump. It's about 4 percentage points.
In the context of a national government collecting taxes from millions of people, that 4% represented millions and millions of pounds in revenue. Millions. Just by removing one click.
It really drives home the point. If you want people to do the right thing, you have to make it the easiest thing.
You have to make the good habit the path of least resistance.
So let's get practical. We've talked about history, biology, business. How do I, as a regular person living in a messy house, apply this? Because I don't have a Toyota factory floor manager to redesign my living room.
No, but you can become your own architect. We need to talk about priming the environment.
Priming the environment.
Yes. This brings us to the story of Oswald Knuckles.
Oswald Knuckles.
Yeah.
An IT developer from Natchez, Mississippi. He sounds like a character in a novel.
He has a strategy he calls resetting the room. And I think this is the core mental model that can change how you live your daily life.
I love this concept. Walk us through his routine. What does this actually look like?
So Oswald doesn't just leave a room when he's done with it. He resets it for its next use. For example, when he finishes watching TV, he doesn't just turn it off and walk away.
Which is what 99% of people do. I leave the remote in the couch cushions. I leave the blanket in a wad on the floor.
Right. Oswald puts the remote back on its stand, perfectly parallel to the edge. He fluffs the pillows on the couch. He folds the blanket and drapes it over the armrests.
Okay, so he's very tidy.
But notice the mindset. He isn't just cleaning, he is priming. When he gets out of his car at the end of the day, he throws away any trash immediately. He doesn't let it pile up in the door pocket.
And the shower one is my favorite.
This one is intense but brilliant. While the shower is warming up, that dead time, he grabs a cloth and wipes down the toilet and the counter. He combines the task with the waiting time.
And his philosophy on this is great. He says, I'm not hardworking, I'm proactively lazy.
Proactively lazy. It gives him time back later. Because when he walks into the living room the next day, there is zero friction. The room is ready. He doesn't have to spend 2 minutes hunting for the remote. He doesn't have to clear space on the couch. The activation energy to relax is zero.
It's the difference between starting a project with a clean, organized desk versus starting a project by having to clean your desk first.
Exactly. When you reset the room, you are removing the friction for your future self. You are doing your future self a huge favor. You are unbending the hose for tomorrow.
There's another example in the source, the greeting card box. This one hit home for me because I am terrible at sending cards.
Most of us are. Because the friction is so high, we remember it's someone's birthday, but we don't have a card.
So I have to add go to the store to my to-do list. But I'm busy, so I wait.
And then it's 3 days late, and then we feel guilty, so we just don't send it at all.
The shame spiral.
The spiral of friction. The example in the source is the wife who keeps a box of pre-sorted greeting cards at home. She has sections. Birthday, sympathy, wedding, thank you.
She has an inventory. She's primed the environment.
She has. When she needs to send a card, the friction is almost zero. She just walks to the closet and grabs one. She is incredibly good at remembering special occasions, not because she has a better memory, but because she removed the obstacle of going to the store.
This applies so clearly to healthy eating, too.
Oh, hugely. If you want to eat more fruit during the week, you can't just leave it whole in the crisper drawer in your fridge.
That's where good intentions go to die. I call it the rotting drawer.
It is, because washing and chopping an apple is work. When you are hungry and tired, it has high activation energy. You'll just grab the chips instead because the bag is already open.
So the strategy is to prime the food.
Chop it all up on Sunday, put fruit salad in containers, cut up carrots and celery sticks, make it ready to eat. You are lowering the friction so that eating the apple is just as easy as eating the chips.
And for exercise, it's the same logic.
Lay out the clothes, your shorts, your shirt, your socks, your shoes, your water bottle, your gym bag. Do it the night before. If you wake up and have to look for your running socks in the dark, you aren't going to the gym.
You lose the battle before you even get out of bed. The friction is too high.
Exactly. You want to make it so you can just stumble into the right behavior.
Stumble into the right behavior. I like that. But what about the wrong behavior? Because a lot of the time, the battle is about stopping something.
This is the other side of the coin. It's the inversion of the principle. If you want to encourage a behavior, you unbend the hose. If you want to stop a behavior,
You bend the hose, you add a kink.
you intentionally increase the friction. You make it hard and annoying to do the wrong thing.
The TV example from the source material is hilarious to me because it escalates so quickly.
It really does. So let's say you watch too much TV. You want to stop binge watching. Level 1, friction. Unplug the TV after use.
Okay, so to watch it, I have to crawl behind the entertainment unit and plug it in. That's annoying.
And the rule is, you can only plug it in if you can say the name of the show you want to watch out loud.
So no mindless channel surfing.
Correct. No mindless surfing. You have to have a clear intent. That's a little bit of friction.
Okay, what's level 2?
Take the batteries out of the remote after each use.
Oh, that is genuinely irritating. Just thinking about it makes me mad.
It adds an extra 10 seconds of pure annoyance. You have to find the batteries, fiddle with the little plastic cover, put them in the right way. That 10 seconds might be enough to make you say, you know what, I'll just read a book.
And level 3, the hardcore mode.
Move the TV into a closet after each use.
Who on earth does this?
Someone who is very serious about not watching TV. But think about it. You will only go through the effort of fetching that TV from the closet if you really want to watch something specific. It eliminates 100% of casual, mindless viewing.
It turns watching TV from a default behavior into a deliberate event.
Exactly. You are manufacturing friction to protect your time and attention.
The modern version of this, of course, is the phone, because this is the real addiction for most of us.
The phone is the ultimate frictionless device. It is always there. It is a perfectly engineered dopamine pump. The glass is smooth. The colors are bright. Face ID means you don't even have to type a password anymore.
There is literally zero barrier between me and the entire internet at all times.
And that is why we are losing. We are fighting a team of 1,000 engineers with a caveman brain. It's not a fair fight.
So how do we bend the hose on our phones? How do we add friction back in?
The simplest strategy is physical distance. Proximity is the enemy. Leave the phone in a different room while you work.
Until lunch.
Until lunch, or just for a 90-minute block. If it is next to you on the desk, even face down, you will pick it up. It's an automatic, unconscious action. If it is in the kitchen,
You have to stand up and walk.
and that walk is friction. The source mentions that this small change, just putting it in another room, can result in 3-4 hours of uninterrupted, deep work.
Because the effort to go get it is higher than the reward of a quick, mindless scroll.
Exactly. The cost is too high for a low-value activity, but there's something else going on there too. It's not just about not scrolling.
The proximity effect.
Right. The source mentions a study that says if the phone is on your desk, even face down and on silent, your cognitive capacity drops by about 10%.
Just by being in the room, even if you don't touch it.
Yes. Your brain is actively spending energy not looking at it. It's like having a delicious piece of cake on your desk while you're on a diet. A part of your processor is allocated to don't check phone.
So moving it to the other room literally frees up that brain power for your actual work.
Exactly.
Then there's the social extreme method.
Yes. Ask a friend to change your password. Or give your phone to a coworker and say, don't give this back to me until noon, no matter what I say.
That requires some serious trust and accountability.
It does, but it works. It creates massive social friction to getting the phone back. You'd have to admit your weakness.
What about the beer trick? I thought this was a simple but effective one.
This is a classic visual friction tactic. If you are trying to drink less beer or soda or whatever your vice is, don't put it in the front of the fridge at eye level.
Where it's smiling at you every time you open the door.
Right. Hide it. Put it in the back behind the leftovers. Put it in the crisper drawer underneath lettuce. If you can't see it and you have to move things to get to it, you will consume less of it. Out of sight, out of mind.
And for the truly brave, there's digital friction.
Deleting the apps.
That's the nuclear option.
It is. If you delete social media from your phone to use it, you have to go to the App Store, re-download it, and log back in. That is extremely high friction. You might do it once a week, but you won't do it every 10 minutes from the bathroom.
It's amazing how we are essentially hacking our own laziness.
Mm.
We're using our innate desire to be lazy to stop us from doing bad things.
That's the beauty of it. You aren't changing your nature. You are aligning with your nature. You're using it as a tool, not fighting it as an enemy.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've gone from the geography of ancient Eurasia to the batteries in your remote control. Let's just try and recap the 4 key takeaways before we wrap up.
Sure. Let's simplify it all. Point 1. Human behavior follows the law of least effort. We are biological machines designed to save energy. Don't fight it, accept it. It is as fundamental as gravity.
Okay, that's the foundation. Point 2.
Reduce friction for good behaviors. Unbend the hose. Make the gym commute short. Put the guitar in the middle of the living room, not in its case in the closet. Lower the activation energy for the things you want to do more of.
Point 3 is the inverse of that.
Exactly. Increase friction for bad behaviors. Bend the hose. Hide the beer. Unplug the TV. Delete the app. Make it annoying and difficult to do the wrong thing.
And finally, point 4.
Prime the environment. Be proactively lazy like Oswald Knuckles. Reset the room so that your future self can slide into the right action without any resistance or effort.
So what does this all mean for us? What's the big so what for the listener driving home right now?
I think the big question, whether you are a parent trying to get your kids to eat vegetables, a CEO trying to improve your team's productivity, or just an individual trying to get your life together, is this. How can I design a world where it's easy to do what's right?
Stop trying to be a person with iron willpower and start being an architect of your environment.
Yes, stop trying to be a superhero. Be an architect. Redesign your life so the actions that matter most are also the actions that are easiest to do.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought that really struck me from the research. We spend so much time talking about discipline. We wear self-discipline like a badge of honor. I got up at 4 a.m. and forced myself to run in the rain.
We fetishize the struggle. We think the struggle itself is the virtue.
We do, but the source material challenges that idea at its core. It implies that habits, the very things we are trying to build, are actually obstacles. We don't want the habit. We want the result the habit gives us.
That's right. If you could get fit without dieting, you would. If you could be calm without meditating, you would.
So consider this. What if the ultimate goal of self-improvement isn't building ironclad discipline? What if the goal is creating an environment where discipline is unnecessary?
That is the ultimate form of efficiency. If you don't even have to use willpower, you have truly won the game.
Imagine a life where doing the healthy, productive, meaningful thing is just the path of least resistance.
That's the dream. That's the goal of the design.
That's the deep dive. Thanks for listening, and go unbend some hoses.
See you next time.